An intense weather setup could bring violent storms, dangerous flooding, and damaging tornadoes across several regions of the United States. Today's precipitation pattern across the United States is focused on a well-defined corridor of rain stretching from parts of the upper Midwest southward into the central United States. The heaviest rainfall is occurring near Minnesota and extending toward northern Illinois, where a concentrated band of moderate to heavy precipitation is producing periods of intense rain. Some locations within this corridor could experience brief downpours, reduced visibility, and water collecting on roads during the strongest showers. Light to moderate rain also extends farther south through portions of the Mississippi Valley, while scattered showers continue along parts of the Gulf Coast and near the Florida Peninsula. Along the East Coast, most widespread heavy precipitation remains offshore, although a few coastal showers are possible. The western United States, including California, Nevada, Utah, and much of the Southwest, remains largely dry today with only isolated clouds and little measurable rainfall. Overall, today's precipitation is highly uneven, with the most active weather concentrated across the central and upper Midwest. Looking ahead over the next 3 days, forecasters are watching the potential for this wet pattern to become more organized. If additional moisture and atmospheric energy combine, a larger area of heavy rainfall could develop across parts of the central and eastern United States. That could significantly increase the risk of flash flooding, repeated thunderstorms, and localized flooding in low-lying areas. Residents in areas expecting multiple rounds of rain should continue monitoring forecast updates and be prepared for rapidly changing precipitation conditions during the coming days. Today's wind pattern across the United States shows the strongest winds concentrated from the Central Plains into the upper Midwest. The highest sustained wind speeds are occurring near Minnesota, where values are approaching 40 kilometers per hour, creating breezy to locally windy conditions. Winds around the Great Lakes remain elevated as well, with the Chicago area experiencing speeds near 29 kilometers per hour, supporting steady airflow throughout the region. Across the southern plains, including parts of Texas near Dallas, winds are moderate at around 32 kilometers per hour, while the Gulf Coast is generally seeing lighter to moderate breezes. Florida is experiencing coastal winds near 29 kilometers per hour, especially along the Atlantic side where onshore flow is strongest. The Mid-Atlantic and Northeast have mostly light to moderate winds, although localized gusts may develop near coastal areas. Across the western United States, winds remain relatively light, with Southern California near 10 kilometers per hour and the interior west generally between 15 and 20 kilometers per hour. Overall, today's wind pattern is active across the central United States, but is not producing widespread damaging conditions. However, travelers in open areas may still notice occasional gusty periods. Looking ahead, over the next 3 days, meteorologists are monitoring the potential development of a stronger storm system that could tighten the pressure gradient across the central and eastern United States. If that occurs, wind speeds could increase significantly, raising the threat of damaging gusts, difficult travel, isolated power outages, and rapidly changing weather conditions. Residents should stay informed by following the latest forecast updates as the wind pattern evolves. Today's temperature pattern across the United States shows a sharp contrast between the hottest southern states and the cooler northern tier. The Gulf Coast remains the hottest region, with temperatures around 35 degrees Celsius across Texas and Florida, while Dallas, Houston, and Tampa continue to experience intense summer heat. Warm air also stretches across much of the central United States, where temperatures remain in the upper 20s to mid-30s. Farther north, conditions become noticeably cooler. Minneapolis is near 20 degrees Celsius. Chicago is around 27 degrees Celsius. And much of the Northeast, including Washington and New York, is holding in the upper 20s, providing a more comfortable afternoon compared to the Deep South. The western states remain mixed, with the desert Southwest staying hot, while higher elevations across the Rockies remain significantly cooler. Overall, the strongest heat today is focused across the southern half of the country, while northern states experience more moderate temperatures. Looking ahead over the next 3 days, there is a possibility that this hot air mass could expand farther north and east. If that happens, several states may experience a period of unusually high temperatures, increasing the risk of heat-related illnesses, rapid dehydration, and dangerous conditions for outdoor activities. Residents should closely monitor updated temperature forecasts, limit strenuous outdoor work during peak afternoon hours, stay hydrated, and make preparations if hotter conditions begin spreading into additional parts of the United States. Today's humidity pattern across the United States shows the highest moisture levels concentrated along the Gulf Coast and much of the Southeast. Dew point values are around 25 degrees Celsius across Houston and Tampa, indicating very humid air that will feel hot, sticky, and uncomfortable throughout the day. Atlanta also remains humid with dew points near 21 degrees Celsius, while Dallas is around 21 degrees Celsius, creating muggy conditions across much of the southern plains. Moving north, humidity gradually decreases. Minneapolis and Chicago are both near 18 degrees Celsius, providing moderate humidity that is noticeably more comfortable than the Deep South. Across the Northeast, including Washington, New York, Ottawa, and nearby areas, dew points generally range between 16 degrees Celsius and 18 degrees Celsius, producing a slightly humid but manageable atmosphere. The western United States continues to experience much drier air, especially across the Great Basin and the Southwest, where dew points remain significantly lower, creating a more comfortable feel despite warm temperatures. Overall, the greatest humidity today is focused across the southern and southeastern United States, while northern and western regions remain considerably less humid. Looking ahead over the next 3 days, there is a possibility that this humid air mass could spread farther north into additional states. If that occurs, the combination of increasing humidity and summer warmth may create dangerous heat index values, raising the risk of heat stress and dehydration, particularly for people spending long hours outdoors. Residents should stay hydrated, reduce strenuous afternoon activities, and continue monitoring local humidity forecasts, as conditions may become increasingly uncomfortable across parts of the United States. Today's pressure pattern across the United States is dominated by generally stable conditions, with most regions experiencing surface pressure between 1,015 and 1,018 megabytes. A stronger high-pressure area remains over parts of the western United States, where values near 1,022 megabytes around the Pacific Northwest and 1,017 megabytes across the Great Basin are supporting relatively calm and stable weather. Across the central United States, a noticeable low-pressure circulation is centered near the upper Midwest, with pressure falling to around 1,012 megabytes near Minneapolis. This feature is creating a tighter pressure gradient across portions of the northern plains and Midwest. Farther east, Chicago is near 1,015 megabytes, while much of the East Coast, including Washington and New York, ranges between 1,015 and 1,016 megabytes, indicating fairly steady atmospheric conditions. Across the Gulf Coast, Dallas, Houston, Atlanta, and Tampa remain between 1,015 and 1,018 megabytes, showing no major pressure extremes today. Overall, pressure differences across the country are moderate, but the low-pressure center over the upper Midwest remains the primary weather feature. Looking ahead over the next 3 days, if this low-pressure system strengthens or shifts eastward, it could produce a much tighter pressure gradient across several states. That may increase the potential for stronger storm development and rapidly changing weather conditions. Residents should continue monitoring official forecasts, as pressure changes can quickly influence the development and movement of significant weather systems across parts of the United States.